Hello. Today's travel talk is all about cruising. We've been cruise lovers for a very long time. We took our first Caribbean cruise in the late 80s. Since then, we've cruised again on the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, and even around the Hawaiian Islands. We are definitely cruise lovers. So, after taking more than 30 ocean cruises, we decided to try a river cruise. In December 2019, we took a Rhine River cruise on the Viking Sigyn. It was a completely new experience for us. We cruised from Basel, Switzerland to Amsterdam, stopping in Strasbourg, France, Breisach, Germany, Koblenz, Germany, Cologne, Germany, and Kindernijk, Netherlands, visiting Christmas markets all along the way. We found that ocean cruises and river cruises are completely different experiences. So that's what I want to share with you today, a few of those differences. First one being size of the ship. A typical river cruise ship is normally less than 200 people, maybe slightly more, compared to an ocean-going cruise ship, which can have 3, 4, 5,000 people on board. So the river cruise offers you a much more personalized experience. I like to compare the two this way. An ocean cruise liner is like a floating resort with all kinds of onboard activities, rock climbing walls, surf simulators, merry-go-rounds, go-karts, bowling alleys, you name it. Whereas a river cruise is like a floating boutique hotel that delivers you to the heart of each destination. It still has onboard restaurants and spas and a few shops, but because of the size, it's a more personalized experience and the customer service is excellent. Another thing we liked about the river cruise was how easy it was to get on board. With our previous ocean cruises, you have to arrive at a large terminal along with several thousand other people and walk up a long jet bridge several levels to get onto the ship. Whereas with the river cruise, there's just a short gangplank and you're on within a few steps. Passengers can get from the pier to their stateroom in 1 or 2 minutes, and it's easy to find everything on the ship. We also enjoyed how easy it was to get off of the ship. Disembarkation was a breeze. On an ocean cruise ship, when you try to get off, you're crowded into elevators with a whole bunch of other people saying, where's the gangway and where do we get off and what do I do with my CPAS card? Where do we leave from? It's quite a hustle-bustle experience. When you dock on a river cruise, you're really only 10 minutes from the heart of the city and you just stroll right off. In several ports, we docked right in neighborhoods or next to local parks. A few times from our balcony, we could actually see into people's homes. I don't know if they knew that or not, but we could see them in their living and dining rooms. So it's easy to get off the ship and get right back on. You can do that several times a day if you want to. Maybe you've done some shopping, want to deliver some packages, or take a nap, or grab lunch before going back out for the evening. You can easily do that.
As you can see in the background, this beautiful old church. So we're getting ready to walk right off this riverboat and go and explore this wonderful cathedral.
One of the things that stands out most for me was the beautiful scenery that we could see along the way. We got close-up views of the surrounding countryside, whether it was villages or towns. We saw vineyards on the hillsides, castles, lots of castles, and fortresses that looked like they were straight out of a fairy tale.
We're cruising the Middle Rhine on the Viking Sigyn, and it's a beautiful river cruise, and we're enjoying it totally. We're here for the Christmas markets, and this morning we're taking in so many beautiful sights. You have the funicular taking people up to this castle, and there's several castles, numerous castles along the Middle Rhine, and we've been blessed to see them all today. Great experience, really enjoyed it.
Now let's talk about excursions. There were several really good excursions offered at every port. And what I liked about Viking was there was a free excursion in each port. So you had plenty to choose from, but we didn't have to spend any additional money on the excursions, and we took some great ones. They were very personalized because they're small groups, maybe 10, 15 people, maybe less. So you got a real personal experience. Also, the transportation was excellent. When you got off the ship to go on your excursion, Viking has not only their own dedicated tour guides, but their own buses.
One of the things about Viking cruises, they have their own buses. And that is really good because the buses are well maintained. They're easily to identify when you're going on excursions, and they are like right on time. So this is another good plus for Viking. They do it the right way.
With the river cruise, there were no onboard upsells. With an ocean cruise, they're selling you drink packages or trying to sell you drink packages or specialty dining packages, maybe jewelry, all kinds of things. Sometimes we feel like they're trying to shake you upside down just to get your last few pennies because it's all about the upsell on the big ships. Not so with the river cruise. There weren't any onboard upsells. We paid for everything included in the price of the cruise. And the food was excellent. We weren't sure what to expect, but it was very well prepared. Those chefs were at the top of their game. And we liked that the food was so very fresh because it was sourced from local markets. There's not a lot of onboard storage on that ship, so they're shopping everywhere that you stop. We've toured galleys on large ships, and they're huge and very impressive. But they've got walk-in freezers, big enough for you to live in. They have to carry that much food to feed everybody on board. Not so with the river cruise. So the chefs can get off and shop locally. So you've got fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, maybe the fish was caught locally, but everything is fresh and expertly prepared. And let me also add that beer and wine are included in the cruise price for lunch and dinner every day. Now let's talk about shopping, and we did quite a bit of it. But it was nice to be able just to shop in the towns and villages without being pushed and chided by local vendors. We just blended in. Most of those towns are not solely dependent on tourism for their income, so there's not the desperation. In ocean ports, we've noticed lately around some of the docks, they've built what look like mini malls right there. So the minute you step off the ship, you're met by these vendors saying, come on over here, buy my stuff. And it's understandable. Their economy is dependent on tourism. But it was a nice break not to have to deal with that. On the river cruise, we just walked right off the ship into the town and shopped with the locals. So that made cultural immersion very easy because they didn't know whether or not we were tourists. We just had a chance to buy. We also liked the fact that in many of the ports we could stay in town until late at night. As a matter of fact, they would encourage us, hey, have dinner in town so you can get a real local experience. On an ocean cruise, you typically leave by 5, 6 because they've got to get to the next port. Sometimes later, but not usually. Whereas with the river cruise, they're not that pushed. You're just going right down the river. So it's easy. We had a couple of lovely evenings. We had an evening wine tasting in the Mosel wine region that was just to die for. We also had a great dinner in Cologne. We stayed in Cologne, and that's such a vibrant city. You got to visit if you ever get a chance. But we were there until probably midnight. The entertainment on the Sigyn was enjoyable because they basically brought local acts on board. We had some singers and some instrumentalists, but they were local. So there was entertainment every night. We also liked that our gratuities were included in the cruise price. We did choose to tip extra for people who gave us exceptional service and our tour guides, but that wasn't mandatory. That was totally voluntary. So again, once we paid for the cruise, we paid for all of that as well. So to wrap it up, ocean cruising and river cruising are two very different experiences, but both are enjoyable in their own right. And as cruise lovers, we're going to continue to do both. Thanks so much for visiting our YouTube channel. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and please subscribe.